What's happening, everybody? MG here, MGCovers, bringing you a brand new sports handicapping video. Title of this video is Fading the Public in College Basketball. Great video. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. Before we do that, as always, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, greatly appreciate you subscribing to the channel. If you want to learn about sports betting, I have a ton of playlists. We'll show you the pros and cons, good and bad, of sports betting. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm MGCovers. Cover spelled with a Z. I give out a ton of content, sometimes a free play, sometimes insights into line movement, things I see in the sports betting marketplace. I will post that on my storyline, so you get a ton of value simply by following me on Instagram. On Twitter, same handle as well, MGCovers. All right, so fading the public in college basketball. Now, let's talk about what we're looking at. This is a, over here on the left, this is showing the sportsbook lines from different books, as well as consensus, which is what we'll be focusing on today. And what you're looking at here on the right, these are my power rankings for March the 10th, 2022. And more specifically, these are my lines with value. And what I mean by value is there is a difference between a significant difference between my line and a sportsbook line. For example, like Indiana, we have Indiana minus 4.5. The sportsbook line was 3, so that's basically a 7.5 point differential. All right. So all these games right here have value. Now, what we're going to do, and I'm older than most of you guys probably watching this video, so if you remember in science class, or if they still teach this, we have to have a control group. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, okay, this is going to be our control. This is going to be the plays that we're looking at, games of value. Our control group, the only stat we're going to look at is we're going to play all of these games here, track the record of these games here, but we are going to avoid public teams. So if a team is a, quote, public team, I'm going to define that in just a second, it's a no play. And then we'll see how this adds up. So again, the only criteria is whether or not that is a public or non-public team. Now, the way that I teach and my approach to sports betting is I classify a public team as a team getting 53% or more of the ticket count, not the money, the ticket count. So we'll go ahead and what I'm going to do over here on this particular page is we're going to track wins and losses, okay? So first game we're going to look at is, obviously we had value here with Central Michigan. So we click on this consensus line here, and it shows that Central Michigan was getting 53% of the ticket count. So this is the ticket count here, and this is the money. So in this particular, the way that I teach, since they are, quote, a public team, this will be a no play, even though they did end up covering, lost, but end up covering this game. All right, let's go to Indiana. Let's take a look at Indiana here. You'll see that they are getting, okay, Michigan is the public team, so this would be a play. Now, what's real important, the point to make about this, and the reason why it's so important, the majority of people that wager on sports do what? Lose. Lose long-term and more than likely short-term as well. So what I've always taught is that you don't ever want to be on the public side, because if you're on the public side the majority of the time, the majority of people that wager on sports lose. Well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose as well. So you want to avoid playing public teams. In this case, Michigan was the public team, getting 76% of the ticket count and getting 94% of the money. So another way to think about this too, a quick educational point to make, people always talk about the books being, you know, they want half of the money on Michigan, half the money on Indiana. Not necessarily true. They want to make sure that the majority of money is not on the sharp side. The majority of money is on the public side, because in this case, here's how you interpret it, or reality, what actually happened. The sports books won 94% of the handle, because 76% of the tickets were on Michigan, 94% of the money was on Michigan. So who won the game, or who covered? Indiana covered. So public got crushed. Sharps made a lot of money there on that one. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll count that as a win. So again, we're only using the value of only using our plays right here with value, and whether it's a play or not is whether it's a public team or non-public team. And we're also factoring in whether they covered or not. All right, so Butler. Let's scroll down, see if we can find Butler. All right, let's go to consensus, and you can see here Providence was the public team, getting 53% of the ticket count, 72% of the money. Same deal there. So what happened? So Butler won and covered. I'm sorry, they didn't win, but they also they covered. So again, that would be we would count that one as a win as well. All right, so let's go to the next one. Fordham here. George Mason and Fordham. Public was on George Mason, getting 55% of the ticket count. And you can see here, Fordham actually won. So that would be a win as well. All right. Syracuse, let's take a look at the Qs here. And this will be a rather lengthy video, and I apologize for that. But the reason I want to go through each of these games because there's some teaching points I want to make when we actually go through these. All right, Syracuse and Duke. All right, Duke was a public team, so that means we play on Syracuse, and they covered. All right. 4-0. All right, so let's take a look at Texas A&M. Texas A&M out of the SEC. Yeah, the SEC. Here we go. All righty. All right, now this particular case, you can see here, this was a pretty even game, meaning that Florida was not a public team, nor was Texas A&M, because 50% of the ticket count was on Florida, 50% of the ticket count was on Texas A&M. So therefore, Texas A&M was not a public team, and that meant that would have been a play for Texas A&M. Texas A&M wins. Okay. Now we will see some losses, just so you guys know. All right, TCU, Texas. Texas was the public team. That means that is a play for TCU. Our line was TCU -2. Actual sportsbook line closed at 5.5. TCU wins that one, so that would be a win. All right, let's take a look at East Carolina now. East Carolina, Cincinnati. Cincinnati was the, okay, we're only getting 50% of the tickets. So that would mean we would have a play for East Carolina, and they ended up not covering. So there's our first loss of the day. But already you can see the value is that the public is going to be wrong and lose majority of the time. So you don't, as a handicapper that wants to succeed, you don't want to be on the public side. Now, especially this time of the year, because what you got to realize too, with March Madness approaching, and then the tournaments take in a lot more money on these games now than they would during the regular season. And also too, you have more attention, more eyes. Maybe people that don't traditionally bet will end up betting, and therefore increasing that public side more. All right, so what are we on? Akron. So let's see if we can find Akron over here. I think I went too far. I think it's up here at the top. Where's Akron? Yep, there we go. There it is, Akron and Buffalo. Let's look at the consensus. Buffalo was the public team, so that means we play Akron. Akron was 3. They went outright, so there's another win. All right, Sac State. Sacramento State down here at the bottom. Sacramento State, Montana. All right, so the public was on Sacramento State. Now, this is important here because Sacramento State was getting 70% of the ticket count. So this is a great teaching point, because here that means we would not have played Sacramento State because they're a public team and they got blown out. So we avoid a loss in that particular case, okay? So not only does it make you money, it can also save you money as well. All right, Northwestern. Let's take a look, see if we can find Northwestern here. I wish I knew my conferences better, but here we go. Northwestern, Iowa. Iowa was the public team, so that is a play on Northwestern, and it was a loss. So we get another loss here. All right, LaSalle. Let's take a look at LaSalle. Right here in front of us. And we don't have public, non-public listed, so we'll just take it at face value and count this as a loss since they didn't cover. We'll just say they were a non-public team and we played them. Bakersfield, there's a few of them like that, but just for the sake of this video and just so we can track it. All right, so what are we looking for? Bakersfield, I can't even pronounce it. All right, there we are, Long Beach State. All right, Long Beach State was the public team, so that means it was a green light for us to play Bakersfield, and they did not cover, so another loss there. All right, UC Irvine, Santa Barbara. Now this one, I'm not sure if they mean Cal Santa Barbara or Cal Irvine, so again, we'll count this as, we'll just assume they were a non-public team, and we actually played them, and that was a loss, so we'll count that one as a loss as well. All right, George Washington. Scroll back up. There we go. George Washington and UMass. And you can see George Washington, again, great point here. They were the public team, right? Getting 64% of the ticket count. And they did not cover, right? So therefore, that one actually saves us a loss. Very important to note that. South Florida. Where are you at? South Florida right here. Going up against Central Florida. All right, Central. Okay, there's not really a pub. You'll see this a good bit. So Central Florida getting 50% of the ticket count. That means South Florida was getting the other 50%. So they are both non-public teams. So that would have indicated a play. And they actually covered there. Almost won it. All right, so where are we at here? We're at Maryland. So let's find Maryland here. ACC. There we go. Maryland, Michigan State. Public was on Michigan State, so that means that would have been a play for Maryland, and it was a loss. So again, in sports betting, this is very important to note too. Nothing works 100% of the time, but if we apply this concept 100% of the time, it will work most of the time. Very important point. So that was a loss there. So we'll count it as a loss. All right, so where are we at, folks? Portland State. Let's go to Portland State here. Going to be down near the bottom. Portland State, Southern Utah, another excellent example here. Southern Utah, public was all over Southern Utah big time, 65% of the ticket count. That means that would have been a play on Portland State. Portland State not only covered, but they won outright, so that would have been a win there. All right, let's go to Vandy in Alabama. A lot of people talking about this game. All right, now what's interesting too here, you had the public was actually right on this game. They're getting 58% of the tickets. So in a realistic scenario, we would see that and wouldn't play Vandy even though they cover. But what you'll see more times than not, by not playing that public time, you'll end up winning. Because I think that's like the first one we've seen like that, right? All right, so let's go to UC Davis here. Let's find these guys here down at the bottom somewhere. There he is against Cal State Fulton. All right, so everybody was on Fulton there. So that means that was a play. And they got blown out. So that's a loss. Okay. All right, Penn State. Let's go back up near the top here. Penn State, Ohio State. Of course, the public's going to be all over Ohio State in this one, right? 62% of the ticket counts, 69% of the money. So Ohio State definitely the public team there. Penn State wins that one outright, so that's a win. And so this is a good teaching point. Just so you guys know, when you're looking at, just so you know now, when you hear that saying about the publics, I know I've already made this point, but I think it's good to make it again, is that people talk about the public, you know, the sports books want 50% of the money on one half. That's not necessarily true. What really, ideally, they want to make sure that the majority of money is on the public side. So 62% of the ticket count, that means the majority of the public's on Ohio State, the majority of money's on Ohio State. So they know that all this that I'm teaching, the sports books know all this, right? So they know that there's a high chance that Ohio State's going to lose this game and not cover, and they're going to get to keep 69% of the pot and only have to pay out the other side. All right, so let's go to, did I count that as a win? I can't remember, y'all. I think I did. All right, so now we're at Utah State down here at the bottom. We're at Utah State. There it is, against Utah State, Colorado State. Everybody all over Colorado State there, 68% of the ticket count. Utah State covered. So that is a win. And again, like what you're starting to see the trend, if you're new to sports betting, is that, you know, the general, you know, the public likes to play, like they like to play favorites. There's like a comfort in playing favorites. Like, you know, just the eye test, you would say, oh, Colorado State's a little bit better than Utah State. And the books know this. So what they will do a lot of times, and you'll see that, is they do what we call shading the line. And I call it, another word I like to use is inflating. So they know that you, the general public, are going to perceive Colorado State to be better. So what do? They inflate this line. That's why you're seeing a lot of these favorites losing and not covering. All right, so I can't remember if I counted that one or not, y'all. I'm trying to do a million things. Alabama A&M. Let's see if we have these guys down here. Here we go. I knew they won. Consensus. Just for the sake of this, we won't count that one, even though they did cover, okay? But just to be extremely objective, we won't count it, all right? So let's go Seton Hall here. Seton Hall, let's go back up to the top here. Seton Hall was playing Connecticut here. Yep, majority on Connecticut, so that means we would have played Seton Hall, and they lost. All right, so we'll count that one against us. Now we're down to Eastern Washington. Let's go down here near the bottom. Whoops, too far, right? All right. As I'm scrolling through this, obviously you guys might be able to see this better than I am, but sorry, it's difficult for me. Eastern Washington, where you at, folks? There it is, Northern Colorado. On cue, the public's all over Northern Colorado there, 64% of the ticket count. Eastern Washington comes up short but does cover, so that's a win. All right. Almost done here, Fresno State. Let's go down here to the bottom. San Diego State. Where's the public at? And see a great example there. Fresno State, 67% of the ticket count. So we were on Fresno, so that means they were a public team. So that would have been a no play, and they ended up, what was that, a push? Yeah, so that would have been a push. All right, Washington almost done here. And you'll find these results fascinating here. As you can already tell, we're going to be in the positive here. Let's see. Washington. Washington, USC here. All right, public all over. You can see early on Washington, and then later when it actually closed, the general public was all over Washington. USC. So that means that would have been a play for Washington. And they actually, yep, they covered. Lost but covered. All right. Let's go to the next one. Finally, last game, Hawaii there. Cal, Riverside. and you had 50% of the ticket count on Cal Riverside, so that means neither team was a public, pretty even team as far as ticket count, and that means that would have been a play, and Hawaii wins that one outright. So let's tally this up, and we'll talk just a second here. So you can look at the wins were 14. Whoops, I can't add 14. The losses were 8. So that is 14 divided by 22. 63%. So my point is, let's just sort of review what we did. We took, now first off, this is very important here. We didn't just randomly go through every single game, right? We took the games that my power rankings, which is a solid model, had as value, and then we would play it if they were a non-public team, and if they were a public team, we didn't play it. 14 and 8, 63%. That's how the business works, y'all. Now, what you will see as far as non-public and public teams, like, that's why it's so important to focus on that and to make that a part of your handicapping, especially when you're handicapping games where there's a lot of money, and sometimes a lot of money that's thrown into those games. Like you'll see in maybe some of these soccer matches, or maybe even trying to think of another example, y'all, or maybe, you know, a sport where there's just not a big handle. But this time of the year, college basketball, you get a lot of money thrown in there, so that's definitely something that's applicable. So anyway, super fascinating video, and hopefully that teaches you to avoid playing public teams. If you want to have access to these power rankings, you see right here, it's $49.95 per month. You get access to all my lines for all sports. In addition to that, you get all my coaching videos as well. We upload about one coaching video a week, so you get access to all that. If you want access to all my plays, $99 per month. If you add that up for a year, that's what, $1,200 bucks. But if you join for a year, it's $4.99. Huge, huge value. If you're serious about the business and want to learn, that's a great way to do it, man. $4.99 for the entire year breaks up. You save about $600 bucks. It comes out to about $41 a month. Anyway, if you like this video, click the like and subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you soon. Stay away from those public teams. Peace.